Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathamritam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Tuesday and the Thursday series on Vaishnav Ninda, part 2, a contemporary study. Especially we are discussing the last theme in this particular discussion what we have been having, and the last theme has been Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu deliverance of criticizers and his instructions, especially many of the pastimes which are very much instructive of Vaishnav Ninda from the Chaitanya Bhagavata. So in the last class, if you remember, we began the discussion from Chaitanya Bhagavata chapter 16, the glories of Sri Haridas Thakur. We discussed this first pastime, the Qazi's punishment to Sri Haridas Thakur, and then Sri Haridas Thakur's reasoning of his punishment. What is the reason Haridas Thakur says that he had to go through such punishment? What is the reason? Especially we discussed how Haridas Thakur in Fulia was respected by all the people there because of his purity, because of his chanting, because he was able to transform the hearts of others. And the Kagizi is like the district magistrate, and he became envious. And Haridas Thakur was imprisoned. And in this context, we discussed the deliverance of those who were imprisoned there. What are the instructions of Haridas Thakur to them? Stay where you are and let your minds be fixed on Krishna. That was the blessing Haridas Thakur gave. So this Gupta Ashirvad, they could not understand the meaning. And we elaborately went into that discussion because that is very relevant to us, because we are also in this prison of these 14 planetary systems. We are imprisoned in these 24 elements and these 8 coverings of this universe. So we don't realize in what situation we are. And Haridas Thakur's instruction for those who are prisoners there is very relevant and it is very relevant to us. So after this punishment pastime is quite elaborately discussed, we drew some of the lessons. Haridas Thakur is the personification of tolerance, that he tolerated the beatings of the soldiers in 22 marketplaces. And what was his compassion we saw. And after that pastime where Haridas Thakur goes into Samadhi and they think he's dead, and the soldiers throw his body in the Ganga, Haridas Thakur comes back to external consciousness and comes out to Fulia again, chanting the glories of the holy name. Then the king also accepts Haridas Thakur as a great saint, and he says, now you can run anywhere in Fulia, nobody is going to stop you. Haridas Thakur comes in the association of Brahmanas and he says that because I heard Vaishnav Ninda criticism, that is why I went through this suffering. Prabhu Ninda Ami ye shunilun apar tara shashti karilena Ishwaramar. I heard so much blasphemy of the Lord. That is why he has punished me. So this is Haridas Thakur giving his reasoning why he had to go through such a situation. Now, we discussed in the last class this purport and explanation, but there were few questions. So I just want to clarify this part and then we will discuss the next pastimes. While considering himself an ordinary conditioned soul, forced to enjoy the fruits of karma, Haridas humbly said, I had to hear the topics that were averse to the Lord as punishment of my previous deeds and aversion to the Lord. Due to my tolerance, I did not adequately protest the harsh treatment of the persons who were averse to the Lord. That is why the Lord has awarded this punishment to me. The Lord awards severe punishment to those who, even after hearing blasphemy against the Lord and his devotees, do not protest in order to make a show of tolerance. So, especially to the Prakat Sahajiyas who hear blasphemy of Vaishnavas, or they themselves blaspheme, and they make a show of following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Turunadapi Sunichena verse to instruct them. Even after hearing blasphemy words against Hari, Guru, Vaishnavas, the Prakat Sahajiyas attempt to justify their abominable, mean, duplicitous nature as Vaishnava etiquette guarantees their frightful degradation. Haridas Thakur was truly the highest ideal of tolerance, and because of deceitful Prakat Sahaja Sampradaya tries to artificially imitate the quality of his tolerance, they ultimately achieve various miseries of life. Since Mahabhagavat Paramhamsa Vaishnava is personally free from the blasphemy of others, he does not possess the external mundane urges to blaspheme or praise, talk unnecessarily or gossip. But since the Prakat Sahajiyas are not this exalted platform, their endeavors result in abominable duplicity. Therefore, they inevitably suffer miseries. In order to preach this topic to the deceitful Prakat Sahaja Sampradayas, Haridas Thakur, like an ordinary human being, invoked the philosophy of enjoying fruit with results. So Haridas Thakur was not enjoying the fruits of his karma. But in order to teach others, this whole pastime happened, and this is a lesson for us that we should not hear Prakat Sahajiyas. Now there is a question. I think you'll have to be very clear about it. Prakrit Sahajiyas. Yeah, Prakrit Sahajiyas. Sorry. Yes, Prakrit Sahajiyas. So then, Bala hoila bada pailuna santosh alpashashti kari shamilina bada dosh. I am satisfied for whatever happened to me was for my benefit. The Lord has relieved me of my great offense of awarding me a token punishment. So Lord has only given me a token punishment. So that's how Haridas Thakur he is thinking about himself. And here, Prabhupada again makes this. Those who, even after hearing the blasphemy of Vishnu and Vaishnavas, display their cleverness by posing as advanced and liberal, or on the pretext of artificial gentleness or tolerance without understanding the real purport of thorough appreciation, more tolerant than they are understood to be enjoying the results of their grave offenses. So here again, this point is brought out by Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. So we should not hear blasphemy of Vaishnavas. What to blaspheme Vaishnavas? We should not hear also. And when we hear, we suffer the reactions. Now, this is very subtle and it is very difficult to detect, in fact, in the association of Vaishnavas. And I would like to give one practical example, which I myself experienced. Many years back in one of the morning Bhagavatam classes, when devotee was quite new to Krishna consciousness, maybe 6, 7, 8 years, gave a very wonderful class in the Bhagavatam. And after he gave this class, it was a wonderful class. I also liked it. And we were discussing during the breakfast the different points brought out. And a senior devotee this devotee was in white. The senior devotee was in saffron and he was a temple commander. And he very much was feeling a kind of jealousy you can see in the heart. And it was very obvious that, whatever he spoke, oh, I know that. And he started giving explanation in the breakfast time. We were discussing something very nice discussions we were having, but he somehow overtook the conversation and started speaking as though he knows much better the purport what was explained in the class. Like that, he kept on speaking, and I could detect that something is wrong with him. And generally, this devotee has very good health. He maintains his health. His health is also very good. He maintains his diet. But immediately after this incident, for a few days, he was sick. And I could understand the reason is he was a little bit going through the misery of being a little jealous because a junior devotee had given a very nice Bhagavatam class. So this happens in the association of devotees. And one thing is we should not hear blasphemy in the name of following Trunadapi Sunichina. So that is the point Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur is making. Another famous verse, Tattenu kampam susumikshamana bhunjan evatma krit vipakam ritvavapo vidadhan namaste jivetayo mukti pade sadaya bhav. So Prabhupada also in his Nectar of Devotion mentions this is the guiding principle by which a devotee lives his spiritual life. So a devotee, when he suffers the karmic reactions or the difficulties or the sufferings which come to him of his devotional life, he should say Tatte Anukampa. That is the Lord's mercy. I am supposed to suffer a lot, but Lord is just giving a token. Su sama ikshamanos. Sama iksha means samyak iksha, means perfectly discerning the knowledge of the scriptures. Su means, again, it is a prefix. He can understand that all this suffering, what I'm going through, it is completely Lord's mercy. Bhunjana eva atmakrit vipakam. I am suffering. Bhunjana means to suffer. Eva atmakrit, my own deeds. I have done a lot of bad karma in my previous life or within this life, and I'm getting the Atmakrit Vipakam. Vipakam means reactions. Just like amla fruit. The amla fruit, how does it taste? What is the taste of amla? Anyone knows can raise their hand. I would like to hear. What is the taste of the amla fruit? We all know the amla fruit. I suppose amla is a very famous among the Triphala. There is amla. What is the taste of the amla fruit? Anyone knows? Can raise their hand. One devotee has typed it in the, yes, Rajesh Pandey has raised his hand. I would like to hear what he says. Yes, what is the taste of amla fruit?
We sour, S-O-U-R, sour. S-O-U.
Okay. Praveen's, what is your answer? Amla fruit.
Amla is bitter.
It's not bitter. Karela is bitter.
Yeah.
Amla is not bitter. And Prashant Shanbag has typed here as sweet. Actually, it is sweet. Amla, as the word also says, amla means actually sour. So if you eat the amla fruit and keep on biting it with the saliva, after a certain time when it mixes with the saliva, the taste of the amla fruit turns into sweet. From sour, it transforms into sweet. So in essence, Ayurveda, to find out the rasa, which rasa a particular item has, what is the quality, they see it in terms of vipaka. Vipaka means when the transformation happens, what is the taste? So based on the vipaka, they say this is the taste. So that is why amla, although it is sour to taste, but the vipak, when it is mixed with the saliva and after a certain time, you can feel it, you experience it. It is sweet. So similarly, vipaka means reaction. After we do the karma action, then the reaction comes in the form of vipaka. So atmakrit vipakam, all this suffering I'm going through is because of my own sinful activities. Ridva vapobir vidadha namaste. So how does he, maintain his positive attitude? With his heart. Ridva. He offers prayers. He thanks, oh Lord, you're so merciful. You're just given me a token, as Haridas Thakur is saying here. And he offers his respect. Namaste. So he lives his life like this. And one who lives his life like this, going through all the difficulties and continues his practice of Krishna consciousness, Jivetiyo Muktipade, he attains Lord Mukunda, who is called as Muktipade, and this is his rightful inheritance, Dayabak. Dayabak principle is very famous in the Manu Samhita. So Srila Vishwanath Chakra Thakur, to this purport in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu mentions that a devotee, when he takes up to devotional practice, he is no more under the jurisdiction of the law of karma. In fact, Krishna completely takes control over that devotee. Whatever the suffering the devotee is undergoing, Krishna is bestowing so that he can purify and come near to him. Whatever happiness he is experiencing, bliss in Krishna consciousness, Krishna bestows that in the form of kirtan, yatras. So whatever happiness and distress a devotee goes through in devotional life, it is directly bestowed by Krishna. And there, Vishwanath Chakra Thakur makes a point that devotees suffer because of aparadha. Devotee has no karma. Only because of aparadha, Vaishnava aparadha, we suffer. And Vishwanath Chakra Thakur says that just like a father gives nice milk, which is very, very relishing, which is like nectar for the child. And sometimes the father feeds the child a very bitter medicine because that is also good for the child. So the child doesn't know why my father behaves like this. Sometimes he gives me nectar in the form of milk. Sometimes he feeds me bitter neem juice, which is like a medicine, which is very difficult. So similarly, the devotee experiences happiness and suffering in his spiritual life. So my father knows what is good for me, and I just accept it. Sometimes the father kisses and embraces the child, and sometimes he slaps the child. Similarly, we experience bliss in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we go through suffering. This is like the embrace and the slap. So we should see like this how Krishna is personally reciprocating with his devotee even through the sufferings. So this is our guiding principle. And I also got a token punishment, and that is this verse is being quoted. Kumbhi paka hoya Vishnu nindana shravane taha ami vistara shunilo papakane. One who hears blasphemy of Lord Vishnu is sent to the hell known as Kumbhi Pak. And with my sinful ears, I have heard so much blasphemy of the Lord. So this is how Haridas Thakur is thinking. So one should, when we hear the blasphemy, one should protest. If he doesn't protest, then it is a very severe offense. And Srimad Bhagavatam Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur speaks about Sati, who spoke to Prajapati Daksh. If one hears irresponsible person blaspheme the master and control of religion, one should block his ears and go away if unable to punish. If one is able to kill, then one should by force cut out the blaspheming tongue and kill the offender. And after that, one should give up his own life. This is the devotee's only remedy. Such a heavy statement. This is in respect to Prajapati Daksha and Shiva's pastime, where Daksha blasphemed Lord Shiva, and what a devastation which happened in that yajna. So, third canto, at the end of Kapila Shiksha, fourth canto begins with the first pastime, and the first pastime is about Vaishnava Prana. Also, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami, where we heard this verse, Nindam Bhagavata Shunvam Tat Prasya Janasava Tato Na Peti Yaha Sopi Yanti Ada Sukrita Chuta. So we heard this verse when we discussed Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Vaishnav Ninda seminar. So we heard this. This is how he quotes. Yoga Sharat Hena Papa Ara Ena Nahi Parabar. Therefore, the Lord has given me an appropriate punishment. Yoga Shashti. Shashti means punishment. Karilo Ishwar Tahar. So that I might not commit such sin in the future. Punara Bar. So sometimes the Lord, we can see sometimes when we commit offense, immediately we get the reaction. Actually, this is in one sense a mercy. And by this we realize, oh, I should not commit Vaishnav Aparadh. So Haridas Thakur, thereafter, he enjoys the wonderful kirtan of the chanting of the holy names. And then the Yavanas who had beaten Haridas Thakur, as well as their families, they all got destroyed within few days. So they were all destroyed because they tortured and envied a Vaishnava. And then again, this verse we had seen in our Vaishnav in the first class of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Hanti nindanti vadveshti Vaishnavan na abhinandanti. Krudyate yato no harsham darshane patanani shat. Shat means 6. Hanti means one who kills a Vaishnava. Haridas Thakur was being killed by these Yavanas. Nindanti means blasphemy. Dveshti means to become envious. These envious feelings which come, these are very dangerous. And Vaishnavan na abhinandanti. One does not, offer respects to a Vaishnava. Kurdete, one who becomes angry. Na harsham, one does not feel joy upon seeing a Vaishnava. These alls are what? These 6 are what? Very, very, 6 are the kind of offenses Vaishnava Aparadh we can commit. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur concludes, according to the infallible scriptural decree. Decree means, after a judgment is pronounced in the legal courts, there is a decree passed. Decree means there is an order saying that this has to be implemented. So there is an infallible scriptural order which we cannot avoid. What happened? The Yavanas, along with their families, were soon destroyed by severe diseases like cholera and smallpox. Now we come to the next pastime. So from text 170 to 172 to 197, the pastime is a very interesting pastime, the pastime of living in the cave with the poisonous snake. So this is a very interesting pastime, and there are few lessons which we need to learn from this pastime. So we will just go through these verses. So after this incident happened, Haridas Thakur found a cave on the bank of the Ganges. He remembered Krishna day and night as he resided alone in the cave. So Haridas Thakur used to live in this cave on the bank of the Ganges in Fulyagram. And he used to chant 3 lakh names, the 16 names and the 32 syllable Mahamantra. And sometimes he used to chant loudly and sometimes he used to chant softly. So we all know that Haridas Thakur chanted 3 lakh names. So how many of you know Upamshu Japa? Can raise your hand. How many of you have heard Upamshu Japa? Anyone who has heard Upamshu Japa? So there are many who propagate that, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra should not be done loudly. It should be done softly. And even there should not be lip movement, they say. Because especially the Gayatri Mantra is a very sacred mantra which the spiritual master gives to the disciple. And the Gayatri Mantra is chanted in the mind. And one should not even do the lip movement, because by the lip movement you can sense actually what is the mantra being chanted. People who are sharp, they can do it. I don't know about today's age, because we are becoming more and more grosser because of the technology. But even by just seeing the movement of the lip, you can actually detect what mantra which Gayatri mantra is chanting. So Upamshu Japa is the japa which is chanted in the mind. And many claim that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra also should be chanted in the mind. But Haridas Thakur is to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 3 lakh names in 3 different levels. He is to chant softly without the movement of the lip. That is called as Upamshu Japa. And he is to chant softly with the movement of the lip. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This light movement. And then he is to chant very loudly so that others can hear. So these are the 3 different levels of chanting Haridas Thakur is to do. It is especially recommended that we can chant loudly when we go out in the Sankirtan. And especially those who have very disturbed minds, for them it is recommended that they chant loudly in order to pacify the mind. But of course, that will disturb the others who are chanting, so they can chant in a little far off place. But generally, japa should be chanted softly during the morning times, so that we can hear our sound vibration. What we are vibrating, the mantra from the mouth, should be heard in the ear, and we should focus on the sound vibration. Many devotees keep the Srila Prabhupada Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting, and they chant along with that, and they are hearing Prabhupada's mantra. That is also not recommended, in fact. You can play the Prabhupada Japa mantra other times, but while chanting, you should recite the mantra clearly and distinctly, and you should hear the mantra. So that is about a few points about the chanting. Also, there is an important point that one should not do Upamshu Japa, especially in the beginning stages of his spiritual life. If he tries to chant only in the mind, actually the mind will become more and more wild. And this is only recommended for those who are doing liberated souls, who are doing Nirjan Bhajan. So, because their mind is pure, they can do it. But sadhakas are not supposed to do. And Madhyamadikari, Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that Madhyamadikari might associate with worldly people in the course of showing Jiva Deva, and he doesn't get affected by that association. Rather, he distributes the mercy and he removes the contamination of the sinful life. So that's what point is there here. He would chant the holy name of the Lord 300,000 times a day in his cave, and thus transformed into Vaikuntha. The cave became a Vaikuntha. A huge snake lived within the cave, and no living entity could tolerate the burning atmosphere produced from its poison. So there was a huge snake which was also living, and it was producing fumes. And this burning fumes, just like the Kalia, the fumes were in the atmosphere, and even the birds which were flying in the sky would fall down. So similarly, so much fumes were coming out because of this poisonous snake. As a result, anyone who visited Haridas in his cave could not stay for more than few moments. They all felt intense burning from the poison. But Haridas was again completely oblivious. Haridas did not feel anything. The Brahmanas sat down together and considered, what is that burning sensation in Haridas' cave? There were some expert physicians living in Fulia. When they came there, they could understand that the burning sensation was due to the presence of a snake. A physician said, there is a big snake somewhere inside the cave. No one can remain here due to its effects of its poison. This is our assurance. Therefore, Haridas should go immediately from there, somewhere else. It is not wise to live with a snake. Let us go to his cave and inform him. So this is what they decided. They all went to Haridas and to explain the situation and to request him to move. There is a big snake living in this cave. No one can remain here due to the effect of its poison. Therefore, it is not wise to live here. Please find another place. So this is the request they gave to Haridas Thakur. Now Haridas Thakur replies. Haridas said, I have been staying in this cave for many days, but I haven't felt any burning sensation. But then Haridas Thakur, since you are all suffering and unable to tolerate the burning of the poison, I will leave tomorrow for another place. If there is a snake in this cave and it doesn't leave by tomorrow, then I will leave and go some other place. Don't worry. Let us chant Krishna's names. So Haridas Thakur himself was not feeling any burning sensation of the poison of the snake. But since he was so sensitive and so compassionate to other souls that they are feeling the suffering, and Haridas Thakur was feeling for their suffering, since you all cannot tolerate, so then I will leave. And if there is a snake, and if it doesn't leave by tomorrow, then I will leave. And then don't now too much discuss about it. Let's chant Hare Krishna. So here Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur makes an important point. He says that all of you should give up unnecessary talking that is not related to Krishna and constantly sing the glories of Krishna. Now this is a very, very important point. You can see it is such a serious thing that there is a snake and the Vaishnavas having discussion, the physicians having discussion, and all this talk is unnecessary. This is all Maya talk. And Haridas Thakur is saying, no, don't now too much get entangled in this talk, and you should, unnecessary not talk and get to our business, that is chanting Hare Krishna. Now, this is a very, very important instruction for us. We sometimes, in our practice of Krishna consciousness, can easily get drifted by any events which happen in and around us. Especially there was maybe a bomb blast in a neighborhood or somewhere, or in some other city, or there was some volcanic eruption, or whatever it is, the COVID crisis. Oh, this is happening, that is happening, and we get caught up in these things and we start discussing, and we get into so much prajalpa that we waste our time and we Maya, that's how sometimes distracts us from these things. So we should be very, very focused and see that we don't do unnecessary talking, which are not related to Krishna, and we should constantly sing the glories of Krishna. So this is very, very important for us. And we can see from our practical experience, once in our temple, we were all sitting and chanting, and one of the sannyasis, visiting sannyasis also had come, and there outside there was some noise and some fight happening. And the devotees left their chanting and they just started looking into the window. What is happening? What is happening? And they just were seeing the fight. But the sannyasi, he was very fixed. He said, yes, what's the business? Why are you looking outside? Come, just sit and chant here. So sometimes we can get diverted and drifted with small things. And these are all what? Unnecessary talk or unnecessary prajalpa. So this is all, how subtly Maya comes and attacks us. And here Haridas Thakur is instructing us about it. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, as I was mentioning in the last class also, recommended that his Grahastha disciples, as well as the Brahmacharis, he was not so particular of the Brahmacharis, chant 64 rounds every day. And especially to his Grahasthas, he said that you are associating with the outside world, so that's why you should, take care that you chant 64 rounds. Grahasthas used to express that it is very difficult to, complete our 64 rounds with our, family duties and with our work and all. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was very strict about it. And even his Brahmachari disciples tried to follow this order, but he was not so particular. He said Brahmacharis are busy in preaching and deity worship and project. So for them, he was not so particular, but yet many Brahmacharis also used to chant. They used to get up very early in the morning, 3 o'clock, before Mangalarti, they used to chant, and then late night, they used to chant and go to sleep. So even many Brahmacharis used to come and admit to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that, we are not able to find the time to chant 64 rounds. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is to say, no, you have the time. Only because of prajalpa, you are not able to complete the 64 rounds. So unnecessary talking. So we should find out in our discussions, even in the association of devotees, how we can get drifted to unnecessary talking, and is our center of talk Krishna always. So this prajalpa is a great obstacle. And that is why in the Updeshamrita it is mentioned, Shadbir Bhaktir Vinashati. It can destroy your devotion. So we should avoid this prajalpa. That's a point, a very important lesson here. Haridas Thakur is saying, don't worry, let us chant Hare Krishna. Then immediately they began Kirtan, and a wonderful incident, Adbhut Ati Hoila Seshana. Some wonderful incident happened. Hearing that Haridas Thakur was prepared to leave the cave, a large snake immediately left. Mahanag Chadila Stana Seshana. It left. It was early evening as everyone there saw the snake leave the cave. They all saw the snake. That large, wonderful snake looked most fearful, yet it was also very beautiful, being colored yellow, blue, white. So it was all a different colored snake, a huge snake. As the Brahmanas saw the brilliant jewel adorning its head, they fearfully remembered Krishna. As the snake left that place, the Brahmanas were overjoyed to find that the burning sensation was gone. They all appreciated Haridas' marvelous potency and developed great devotion for him. Now, here is a very important explanation also of Bhakti Siddhanta. Seeing the departure of the great snake by the influence of Haridas Thakur's opulence and magnanimity, even many atheistic non-devotee Brahmanas who were attached to yogic perfections developed special respect for him. So they developed respect. So here is a very important principle for all us devotees. Just by offering respects to Vaishnavas and in general respect to all people, and especially one who takes the name of Krishna, Krishneti Myasya Giritam Manasadriyata, just by doing this one thing, in fact, we can advance very quickly in devotion and attain perfection. And because the Brahmanas respected Haridas Thakur, they attained bhakti. So this is the power of giving respect. So their seminal Brahmanas had a conception. The seminal Brahmanas were obliged to enjoy the fruits of their karma and eligible for Yamraj punishment thought. What was their thinking? Due to one's previous misdeeds, a living entity takes birth in a family lower than that of Brahmanas. Similarly, due to his previous misdeeds, Haridas Thakur has taken birth in a Muslim family. So this was their conception. And that's how they were also committing a kind of aparad towards Haridas Thakur. They thought, oh, we are born in Brahmana family, and this is because we have done Punya Karma. And Haridas Thakur, he is born in a lower family, in a Yavana family. That is because of his past sinful karma. So that is how they thought. By thinking like this, they would suffer the reactions of this kind of aparad, and they were actually eligible for Yamraj punishment. But now, because of this wonderful incident, they developed faith in Haridas and they respected Haridas. So, therefore, he is certainly inferior to pious mundane Brahmanas. That's what they thought. But now, seeing his easily achieved mystic opulence, who stands before Haridas with folded hands awaiting his instructions, they accepted him as the best of the Brahmanas. So this is how Haridas Thakur transformed them also. Yeah, there is a question. Yes, Maya Narasimha Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, in this context, the thinking thought of Brahmanas. So if we keep aside the aspect of devotion of Haridas Thakur, so generally we also think and say sometimes it is also understood that those who are Brahmanas, they have got some good credits. Because of that only they have given that higher birth so that they can advance further. And similarly, when we see somebody who is in a very filthy slum with a very abominable condition of existence, we understand that because of their past karma, they have taken birth there. So until unless we don't know their devotion, how this understanding can be wrong, because this is a general understanding and this is what the scriptures also saying. So because they never had the experience of Haridas Thakur's devotion, so it is natural to think that way. So what is your thought on this, Prabhu?
Yes, this kind of thought based on, this is basically knowledge on the bodily concept. This is not spiritual knowledge. Somebody, because of good karma, he is having a good birth. Somebody who is having bad karma, he is having a bad birth. This is completely mundane knowledge. Mundane, spiritual knowledge, but it is still mundane on the platform of the modes. But if you see in the Gita 18th chapter, there is the analysis which is done of knowledge in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So knowledge in the mode of goodness means we see everything as spiritual, based and not seeing the outer coverings. So that is knowledge in the mode of goodness, to see everything spiritual. Of course, Vidya Vinay Sampanne Brahmani Gavihasini is one who has developed spiritual vision. He sees the soul. And that is not a transcendental platform in one sense. But even knowledge in the mode of goodness means to see with equality everything and not to discriminate based on bodies. So that is in the knowledge in the mode of goodness. So
that is
discrimination based on this is good, this is bad. This is again, falling in the platform of raga and dvesh. Again, it is mental. Ehi bhalo, ehi manda, ehi saba manodharma. Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's why it makes it very, very clear. This is all on the mental platform. So we should rise even from that consideration. We should rise even from that level. That this is called as what type of ordinary knowledge, ordinary scriptural knowledge. We should have transcendental scriptural knowledge. We should not have ordinary knowledge. Samanya Gyan, it is called Samanya Gyan. So we should become free from that also.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you very much, Prabhu, for that insight. As a devotee, how we should look at other people's, but internally we have this understanding that because of their karma only they have born like that. So this also, as you said, it is a knowledge, it's a part of spiritual knowledge, but it is a very lowest level of knowledge. So, but this is how we preach to people also, that why some people are born in such kind of situations. So, but though spiritually we may see them as souls, so but when we interact with them on the day-to-day basis or on a practical purposes, we differentiate. So that way, this knowledge we should avoid completely, Prabhuji, or how to do that, Prabhu?
See, once we realize we are Vaishnavas and we realize that everyone is a spirit soul, everyone is a spirit soul, and no matter from what kind of background he's coming, that doesn't matter. In our dealings, practical dealings, there might be difference, but on a spiritual platform, everyone is soul and we distribute the knowledge to everyone. So we should see from that transcendental platform only. Although it is difficult for us to see from that platform, but at least we should have a philosophical understanding about it and we should act in that way, although we don't have that vision. We should not see from the karma vision. We should see from the Atma vision. That's it.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for such wonderful explanation.
Any other questions anyone has? Okay. So the snake left immediately. Then what happened? Simply by his, now here the glories of Haridas Thakur is mentioned. It is not very glorious that the snake left its cave on the request of Haridas Thakur. Because Haridas Thakur was in touch with the Paramatma, and Paramatma was also residing in the heart of the snake. So the Paramatma inspired the snake, oh, let my pure Haridas Thakur stay. So it is the Paramatma who gave inspiration to the snake, who is also there as a soul there. And that snake, that soul in the snake's body left the place. What is the glory of Haridas Thakur? Yanda Drishti Matra Chhade Avidya Bandhan. Krishna Na Langan Haridasara Vachan. So here is the glory of Haridas Thakur, that darshan matre, simply by his glance, one's bondage born of nescience is destroyed. Even Lord Krishna does not transgress the words of Haridas. So that's how, Krishna is controlled by his pure devotee Haridas Thakur. Such a Mahabhagavat that Krishna also doesn't transgress. Darshane pavitra karo ei tomar gon. Now, there is the next pastime. Now, please hear another wonderful incident that was narrated by the king of snakes. So, the king of snakes is Anant Shesh. Now, this is also a very beautiful pastime. But before we end discussing this pastime of Haridas living with the poisonous snake, now I have a question to you. Now, this pastime, this actual pastime of Haridas Thakur, who was living with the cave in the cave, and this snake was emanating poison, and still Haridas Thakur was oblivious. He did not feel, but others were able to feel it. What lesson derive from this pastime? What do you see our day-to-day experience in living, practicing spiritual life? What connection living with the snake? What do you see? What connection you see? What lesson you can pick up from here? I would like to hear from any of the devotees. What is the connection you can see? Anyone? Any other devotee? What lesson we can think about? Yes, there is one Mataji who has typed. Yes, okay. There are two hands also. Prashant Shanbag Prabhuji. Yes, Prashant Shanbag Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. In fact, that was same thing what Mataji has typed. So there will be, because I didn't, when I raised the hand, I didn't see that. Actually, there will be a lot of, distractions and people, troubling you in the path of devotion. But we should not give any importance to that and focus on our Krishna consciousness progress. That
Yes,
is
yes. So this snake represents actually envy. In the association of devotees, when we advance, there can be these reactions which come, like other devotees might become envious of us, or they might have bad feelings, and we can detect it. We can detect it, and we sometimes become disturbed about it. But the lesson here is that we should not get disturbed and we should just focus on our spiritual life. And those who are envying us, they will just leave away. But Haridas Thakur is on a different platform. He is not able to detect that there is a poisonous fume. He is completely so much absorbed in the nectar of the holy name that he doesn't even feel the effects of the poison. So this is what can, happen to a transcendental personality like Haridas Thakur. But for us, we might be able to detect, and then there is some, we can feel the reaction within us, and then why is he behaving like this with me, and then why to deal with all this. Just be humble and just trunadapi sunichena tarorapi savishnam amanina manadena kirtani sarahari. So these disturbances come up, and actually in one sense, if you see, they are helping us to purify ourselves. Usually the reaction, what we do is we try to protect or defend ourselves, and then there can be friction and clashes which can happen. But we should take a humble position, and actually we should not see that, oh, these people are envious of me. We should not see that. Actually we should say, maybe there is envy in my heart, and this devotee is helping me to purify the envy which is there in my heart. So this should be the reflection or introspection we should do. And this internal kind of journey in our spiritual life is very, very important for us to become free from these anarthas. It is very, very important. And until we take up this kind of internal journey, there is no question of becoming Krishna conscious or becoming pure devotee. So this is a very, very important lesson we should learn from this pastime. Now, I would like to give 2-3 practical examples of what I have heard. These are true incidents, and these are lessons for us, and we should take them in the right spirit and learn. So I will start from a smaller degree and then go to these high levels of the pastimes, of which I've actually heard and which I have evidence of it. Otherwise, I usually don't narrate stories which I don't have first-hand information or first-hand evidence. I don't usually narrate them. The first one is about one devotee whom I know very closely. He is not in ISKCON, in fact, but he's a Brajvasi, he's a Barsanavasi, and I know him quite closely. And I was staying here with him for a few days when I had a break. And he narrated that every day he used to chant 64 rounds in front of Tulsi because he wanted a seva which he wanted to perform as a seva in the Ladli Lal temples. The Ladli Lal is Kishore temple in Barsana. And by Srimati Radharani's mercy, he got that service. He got that seva in the temple. Now, for any person who is outside of Braj, it's very difficult for someone to get that kind of service. Only the local Brajvasis can do that service, and they are only allotted to do that service. So he got that service, and Mathura is Uttar Pradesh. That time it is Uttar Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh. And Uttar Pradesh people are very tough people. So some of the locals, not the devotees there, locals became very envious about him. And they filed a false case against him. He was arrested and he was behind the bars. Somehow they felt that this outsider should not get service in this our temple. So out of jealousy and envious, they filed a false case, and they he was imprisoned, but he just took it very lightly. He chanted, and automatically the police officer left him. He went again back to service. Later on, they tried to murder him, but yet nothing happened to him. And this devotee was narrating these incidents when he was going to Madhukari, to do Madhukari, and I was accompanying him. Of course, I was not doing Madhukari. I was just accompanying him. This was the first day I was with him. And so lovingly and affectionately, he called out, "Mother, roti," and the mother came running, "Ele beta," and she handed a roti with so much devotion and affection. And he was narrating this incident. While he was narrating, there was absolutely no malice in his heart about, these people who try to attack him or try to put a false case or try to actually kill him. He did not bear any malice in his heart. So he said, just Krishna protected me. He was so humble and genuine in his narration. And that was very moving for me. So we should see all these kind of attacks which happen. These are not, others who are trying to, pose obstacles externally, but these are the obstacles within our heart. These are the anarthas within our heart, and Krishna is helping us, allowing us through them to purify us. So we should see them from such a positive perspective. We should see these kind of incidents. So this is one incident which I personally know. There is another incident, and I cannot give the details of the names, but there was one sannyasi who was that time a brahmachari, a very senior leader, and he was the head pujari there. And he was not a sannyasi, but he was the head pujari. And there was a senior sannyasi in the center. But somehow, because of some incidents, the sannyasi had to leave the center. And because this brahmachari was a pujari, was very sincere, honest, all the devotees used to like him. Somehow they wanted him to be the leader. But there was another person who was very close to the other sannyasi who had left. So this person somehow artificially wanted to dominate and take control and be as a leader. But all the community there wanted this brahmachari and the pujari to be the leader because he was very sincere and honest, and they could see that. So somehow he naturally became the leader there, and this other person could not tolerate. And he tried to harm this brahmachari, file false cases, or so many things happened. I cannot go into the details. And at last, for many years, he did this, but then he left the movement. And later on, this brahmachari pujari became a sannyasi, and he was asked, "What do you have to say about this?" The sannyasi said, "I have nothing to say about him, and I have all my wishes and well wishes for him." So he did not bear any malice towards this devotee who tried to harm him, who tried to do wrong to him. So this was how elevated the sannyasi's consciousness was, even as a pujari before he took sannyas. There's another incident I personally know about a very senior leader who was very badly humiliated. In fact, I cannot narrate also. He was very badly humiliated by one of the temple leaders in other center. And he just humbly took this incident. I know because I worked with this senior leader for many years. He's very close to my heart. So I know about this incident, and that's why I'm narrating, but I'm not giving the details. He was very badly humiliated. And he just took this incident very humbly and he just moved out from that place. And later on, this leader, he later on moved out from the temple. And later on, when he was in the outside world, I was present with this leader and we were going somewhere for a meeting. And this incident happened that he was badly humiliated by the public. And when he heard from me, he felt genuine compassion. Oh, he should not go through the suffering. Although he was the same person who had humiliated him, but this leader, this senior leader did not bear any malice towards him. And he had always genuine compassion. So this is the sign of a Mahabhagavat. And that time I remembered the incident of Maharaj Amrish and Durvas Muni. Durvas Muni released a demon to kill Amrish. But what was Maharaj Amrish? How was he seen? He was just humble. He just stood there. And the Lord took over through his Sudarshan. And if you remember, Durvas Muni traveled all over the universe and ultimately went to Vaikuntha, and he came back after 1 year. And Durvas Muni fell at the lotus feet of Amrish. But Amrish, oh, you're a sannyasi. He was humble. And Amrish was waiting to break the fast. He was waiting for that 1 year. And he had just broken the fast by drinking water, but he had not served his guest, Durvas Muni. He was waiting for him. So that was the attitude of Amrish Maharaj. This is way beyond our comprehension, way beyond our tiny heads to fit. This was Amrish Maharaj, who did not see Durvas Muni, who actually came to kill him. But how did he see him? He was humbly waiting for him. And when he offered dandavats and asked forgiveness, he just did not see that you did not commit any offense to me. That was how Amrish Maharaj was seeing this incident. And see how, although the fumes of the poison were emanating in the cave, Haridas Thakur was oblivious, completely oblivious. He did not feel anything. So this is the sign of a Mahabhagavata. And here in the purport, I want to bring this point. We discussed the lesson. Seeing the departure of the great snake by the influence of Haridas Thakur's opulence and magnanimity. Even many atheistic non-devotees, Brahmanas, this I read, but there is another point. In 196 it is. Only persons who are envious of others, who are attached to sense gratification, who are averse to Hari, and who cause anxiety to other living entities are bitten by snakes. So who are bitten by snakes is those who are envious, those who are attached to sense gratification, who are averse. What to speaking of causing anxiety, envy, or fear, a Mahabhagavat Vaishnava like Haridas Thakur has such great influence that even the most envious, fierce, poisonous snake humbly carries out his order. So even the most envious Haridas Thakur was able to transform. So even when others out of envy attack us, the Mahabhagavat, what is his position? That he wants to transform them. He wants to transform them. So this is the quality of a Mahabhagavat. There is a pastime of how a Mahabhagavat's heart is filled with magnanimity and mercy. And this is mentioned in the Madhurya Kadamani. In the Madhurya Kadamani, especially with discussion of Vaishnava Aparadh, there is one discussion which Vishnu Chakra Thakur has, which is of a lot of relevance. Sometimes the Mahabhagavats don't take Aparadh at all, offense. And sometimes even the offender, they can show compassion and mercy. Just like Nityanand Prabhu, who was attacked by Jaga and Madai, but yet he showed compassion. So there is one incident of mention of King Upachari Vasu. And this is quoted in the Vishnu Dharmotar, I feel. King Upachari Vasu was a great king who fought against the demons on behalf of the demigods. So for many years, this king fought on behalf of the Devatas and defeated the demons. And later on, after doing the work of the Devatas, he asked what benediction I can get. The Devatas wanted to offer benediction, but he said, no, I have fought on your behalf. Now I would like to single-mindedly devote my life to devotion to Vishnu. So they blessed him. So Upachari Vasu gave up his kingship and he was meditating in the forest, down, I think, in the lower planets. He went there and he was absorbed in meditation on Vishnu. Now the demons, they wanted to take revenge. And the demons found out and they wanted to kill now Upachari Vasu. So they went and they saw that here this king is now meditating. He is now, in the guise of a saint. He is now doing meditation. He's doing this natak. He's doing this drama, they felt. So they went to attack him. They went to kill him. But they saw that he was just like Prahlad. No weapons were acting on him. So immediately they went back. The demons went back to their spiritual master. This is Shukracharya. Shukracharya is the spiritual master of the demons. So Shukracharya mentioned that because Vishnu is residing in his heart, you can't do any harm to him. So as long as Vishnu is residing in the heart, you cannot kill him. So then what is the way? The demons said. So they said, you have to preach him atheistic philosophy. And when atheistic philosophy is preached, his heart will be disturbed and he'll think, oh, what is this atheistic philosophy? So his mind will break from the meditation of Vishnu. At that time, you can kill him. So the demons came and now they started speaking atheistic philosophy in front of Upachari Vasu. Upachari Vasu felt so much compassion. See these demons, how degraded they are. That just to kill me, now they are propagating atheistic philosophy. So he felt compassion for them, mercy, and just by his compassionate glance, he just transformed all the demons and they became devotees. So that is the mercy of a Mahabhagat Vaishnava. So this is a very important lesson we learn from the pastime of this snake living in the cave with Haridas Thakur, and how that manifests in the form of envy, and how practically we can experience this in our spiritual life. And especially sadhakas who are not at the Mahabhagavat platform, they go through this trouble, and how we should see these incidents in our life, and how we should see this as for our own purification. And when we see like this, we can get elevated. And we should never counteract or react. And this is also the lesson which is beautifully brought out in the Bhagavatam, in the first canto, where in the Bhagavatam first canto, this lesson has been brought out, that when we are attacked, we should not blame others or nor counterattack. Where is this pastime beautifully brought out in the first canto? Anyone knows? Can raise their hand. Anyone else knows about this pastime, where it is brought out? Can raise your hand. Prashant Shanbag Prabhuji, yes.
Is it Prabhu Draupadi, forgiving Ashwatthama?
Yes, there is that one pastime. There is another pastime which is more in detail. Anyone else? Okay, Swapnil has raised his hand. Yes, Swapnil.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes.
As far as I know, it is Shrungi's father who says that we should be tolerant.
The first canto? In the first canto?
Yeah, it is in first canto.
Where? Which pastime? Where it is comes up? Shivji's father.
No, Shringi's.
Shringi's father. Shringi's father. Okay, not
The
exactly.
Brahmana who purchased the Parikshit.
Pardon? Yeah, I understood, but not exactly that one. Yes, Maya Narasimha Prabhu.
Prabhu, I'm sorry, Prabhu. I could not. I also thought same thing, but that is in second canto about Parikshit Maharaj.
Okay. Vriddhi Mataji has said Kunti Mataji, Mother Kunti, but of course she mentions, Vipada Santuta, that verse. But I want to, there's a whole pastime with a lot of lessons there in the first canto. Anyone else would like to try? It's quite obvious, in fact. Narada, no. It is the pastime of the Dharma, Bull, and Parikshit. The Shudra, Kali. Kali, in fact, inflicts. In fact, all the three legs are, injured by the sword of Kali, personified of Kali. And Dharma is now on one leg. And Parikshit Maharaj sees this. But he had seen this incident, but he raises his sword and he's about to attack and challenge Kali, who is in the form of a king in the Shudra dress. But he asks the bull, who has inflicted this pain? Because he wants a statement. Because before getting a statement, he cannot act. That is the duty of the king. But Dharma in the form of bull, he says, I don't know what is the cause of my suffering. Maybe because he starts speaking very darshanically, philosophically. So there, that beautiful narration is there. Parikshit Maharaj punishing Kali. There this comes. And there, a beautiful verse mentions that one who blames others for whatever suffering comes, he also is destined to suffer that reaction, what the other person is supposed to suffer. This is a very, very, very subtle law. And when Parikshit Maharaj hears the bull answers, he gets convinced. I can understand that you are Dharma personified. Otherwise, you would have not given this answer. So whatever reactions from others, devotees we get, we should see them as and we should not blame. We should just tolerate and see that this is meant for our purification, and we should be fixed in practicing our spiritual life. So that is how we should see these incidents. So this comes up very graphically in the Dharma Bull conversation with Parikshit Maharaj. The incidents, 2 chapters are there in that. So we will stop here, and in the next class we will take up 2 more pastimes which are there with respect to Haridas Thakur, and there are further pastimes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita which also we will take up. So coming Thursday we will take up the 2 more pastimes on Chaitanya Haridas Thakur's life. One question by Maya Narasimha Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Your explanation of devotees' mood, the way he responds to injustices, it appears to have a quality of a very highly advanced devotee. But we do also see another side of it through the example of Bhagavad Gita in the form of Krishna advising Arjuna that one should not tolerate injustice because on the name of tolerance. Like Krishna is telling that you need to do your duty as a Kshatriya. Your duty is to establish dharma by protecting the citizens.
You see, if you see the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna emphasizes Yuddhasva Bharata, Yuddhasva. That's why you should fight, you should fight. Now, as you see in the 2nd chapter, it comes up when he speaks about the science of soul. In the 3rd chapter, it comes up. In the 4th chapter, it comes up. 5th chapter is philosophy, Gyan Yoga. There is no discussion. In the 4th chapter, last verse, it comes up. 6th chapter, it is Ashtanga Yoga. There is no question of fight there. 7th, 8th, 9th chapter, no discussion of fight. in the 11th chapter only, Mayena Vihitaneva Nimitta Matra Sabyasachi. Indirect instruction is there. And directly you go to 18th chapter, only in one verse there again indirectly it comes up. That if because of ahankar, if you don't fight, then you will be bound like that. So the whole theme of the Bhagavad Gita, the instruction is not to fight, in fact. The instruction is ultimately how we should harmonize, ourselves with the will of the Lord. And the will of the Lord is, that the battle of Kurukshetra should happen. So that is the main theme in the Bhagavad Gita. So only in the
Prabhu.
beginning chapters it comes up.
Yeah, yes,
This is
Prabhu.
the first point to be understood. The second point to be understood is that the Pandavas had been highly tolerant all the times. In fact, so much right from childhood. The poison cake incident, the house of lack, then the gambling incident, the 14 years of Vanvas, the last year, the Agyatvas was very difficult. And in fact, when they came back, they were still humble. They asked for 5 villages. Messengers were sent. Krishna himself went. But ultimately, they did not retaliate with the Kauravas in order to, tit for tat for all the suffering they went to. But it was necessary because of dharma, because the praja was suffering. So for that higher cause, this was a dharma yuddha. And that is why they participated. Otherwise, the Pandavas, if you see their life, aho kashtam, aho anyayam, yad yuyam, dharmanandam, jivitum na kleshtum, vipra dharma achutashaya. So that purport we should read very carefully. We might go through kashtam, anyayam, but the Pandavas should have not survived the way things they went through, but because they were under the shelter of Vipras, Dharma, and Achyutashaya, they were always protected. So that is how we should see this incident. I hope.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Prabhu. Well taken, Prabhu, your point. And the theme of Bhagavad Gita also, we heard previously also through you and other devotees also, same thing what you said, to align with Krishna's will. But as practicing devotees, as new people, we get to hear from many devotees, those who are equally or more advanced. They also bring out a point that a devotee does not mean that you become a doormat and you let everybody do whatever they want and you go on accepting. So in that case, what is the line where we can understand that, for example, in some cases we need to respond, we need to retaliate, because that will kill our interest even of devotion also. So everything we cannot take as a mercy of the Lord and keep going by taking the example of some exalted personalities. We may ruin our Krishna consciousness also like that. So does it mean that devotees are completely passive people, those who accept everything and anything is been done to them, and they will never fight back?
See, one point we have to very clearly understand what the verse Trunadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishnam Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari means. For us, it means that when we are put in difficulty by others, or we are put in difficulty by our own miseries, we have to be tolerant. We need not retaliate. See, when there is when there is Adhyatmika Klesha and Adi Devika Klesha, we cannot do anything about it. Whom we are going to fight? Are you going to fight with Mother Nature because of this Adi Devika Klesha of COVID? No. When you are suffering because of your own disease, you cannot, hammer yourself. But when Adi Bhautika Klesha comes, that we retaliate. There we are supposed to be Trunadapi Suniche. And when other devotees, then they are blasphemed or then they are attacked, at that time we should not be Trinadapi, but we should respond. That is how we should, apply this principle. This is the first point to be understood. The second point is that because we also are growing in spiritual life and we don't have that level of tolerance, we don't have that level of, purity. So it might disturb our devotional life, spiritual life. So in that case, what is to be done is we should see things in the light of scriptures with our senior counselors and see that our devotion is protected. At the same time, we don't, unnecessarily go to two extremes, critical sides, and we don't react too much to these incidents which happen and disturb our normal devotional life which is going, because we also have a certain degree of tolerance and we are not so pure as Mahabhagavats who can tolerate these kind of situations. So what is practical to be done in those situations, that we'll have to, on a case-to-case basis, discuss with our counselors or with our Shiksha Gurus and do what is needful so that our devotional practices are intact and we can smoothly practice our spiritual life. Is it okay, Maya Narsingh Prabhuji?
Okay, Prabhu, somewhat. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so we will stop here. Any other questions anyone has? Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Shri Vaishnav Ninda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Hare Krishna.